Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe Cooking Channel. Today we are going to get back to basics and I am going to show you a quick and easy way to cook a perfect steak. So let's get started. We're going to get started by putting together a very basic seasoning for this steak. I have 3 teaspoons of a coarse grind sea salt, 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. We're just going to mix all that together, and I'm going to set that aside to season the steaks with. And the next thing you need to make a perfect steak is a perfect steak. And here I have a really nice looking certified Angus beef ribeye that's about 1 3/4 inches thick. The thicker steaks do work better for cooking, and I'll tell you why as we go, but I wouldn't go any less than 1.5 inches on these. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this guy with a little bit of clarified butter. If you don't make your own clarified butter, you can buy this at the grocery store. It's called ghee, and that's spelled G-H-E-E. And then we're just going to douse that side of that steak with some of that seasoning rub that we just mixed together. I'm going to pat that on. Then we're going to flip the steak. We're going to hit the back side with some of that clarified butter, not a whole lot. And we're going to season that backside as well. This is a big piece of meat, so it'll take a healthy dose of this seasoning. So now that that's on there, I'm just going to wrap it up in this plastic wrap, and I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator until we're ready to put it on the grill. And you can actually do this ahead of time. You could do this the day before and put this in the refrigerator overnight if you wanted to. So just let that stay in the refrigerator till we're ready to cook. Okay, we're going to fire up the Kamado Joe Classic. I've got most of my charcoal piled on to the left side over here because we're going to set up for 2-zone cooking. I'm going to light up 2 Kamado Joe fire starter cubes on the left hand side of my grill here, and we're going to let these burn with the lid open for about 10 minutes. Okay, after we've got our fire going, I have put my divide and conquer rack in. I've put my cast iron grate on the low side on the left, and I'm going to put my heat deflector on the low side on the right, and then I'm going to put my regular grate on the high side on the right. And we're going to close the grill up, and we're going to let this guy come up to about 500 degrees or so in the dome. In order to set up to get to 500 degrees in the dome, I'm going to leave the bottom vent fully open, and I'm going to leave the top vent fully open until we get up to about 400 to 450 degrees, and then I'm probably going to close that about halfway at that point. We'll just go from there, so we'll be back when we get up to temperature. Okay, we've got our grill up to temperature, so I'm going to crack it open, and I'm going to grab my tongs, and we're going to drop this steak on here for 3 minutes on each side. And we're going to come back and turn it after 90 seconds. Okay, we're about 90 seconds in, so I'm going to burp the grill, and we're going to reach in here, give this guy about 1/4 of a turn to put some nice grill marks on that meat. 90 more seconds. And now we're going to move this steak to the indirect side of the grill and let it finish cooking. We're going to bring it over the indirect side, and we're going to continue to cook that till I get a medium rare temperature in the middle. We're going to pull that off when the internal temperature gets up to about 125 to 128 degrees, maybe 129. So we'll be back shortly. Okay guys, I believe we're about ready. I'm going to take a temperature here. We're going to take this off the grill, and we're going to loosely cover it with aluminum foil and let it sit for about 7 or 8 minutes. Okay guys, there we have it. That thing's looking good. Let's take a peek in the middle. There we have a beautiful medium rare steak. Let me change the camera angle here a little bit where we can see that a little better. There we go. That looks really good. It's a perfect cook. And we're going to taste this, and then I'm going to talk to you about why we chose the thick steak and a few more odds and ends. So let's have a taste. Okay, guys, you know how we do this. It's the moment of truth. So I'm going to cut a piece off of this. This is extremely tender. It's a very, very good piece of meat. So let's give it a try. Wow, that's really a fantastic flavor. Just the simple seasoning, the salt, the pepper, and that little tiny bit of cayenne pepper goes a long way to really waking up the flavor of the meat. It does not bring a spiciness or a heat to this steak. It just brings, I don't really know how to describe it. I learned this technique from reading several books, mainly Adam Perry Lang's Serious Barbecue. I learned a little bit about using cayenne pepper from him, and it's a really a good choice. I chose to use clarified butter or ghee on this because it's got a really high smoke point. You don't want to use something like olive oil on a steak because it has a low smoke point, and when you put that to these scorching searing temps that we're using down low on the grill, it'll get bitter and it'll have an odd flavor. So avoid that. Either don't use any oil or use something like clarified butter where you're not going to have any trouble. I like to use a thick steak when we're cooking steaks this way because it gives us a lot more options for searing. If you're using a thin steak that's like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch thick, 2 minutes of searing on each side of that steak might overcook it depending on how you like your steaks cooked. I like mine medium rare, which is a finishing temperature of around 135 degrees internal, and you'll get to that temperature very quickly on a thinner steak. So you're always better off using a thicker steak, and if you don't want to eat that whole steak, cut it in half. Eat a smaller portion of it and give the other half to another family member, or save it for later, or whatever. So give this method a try. This is a very basic cooking technique. We'll look at some more advanced steak cooking techniques down the road, but this is a basic go-to method for a perfect steak, and it's a good method for getting it. You will definitely need your instant read thermometers to make this work, to keep yourself from overcooking the steak, and you'll need to know where your finishing temps are. Rare is 125 degrees. Medium rare is 135, medium is 145, medium well is 155, and well done is 165. And you want to pull your steaks off the grill about 5 to 7 degrees before you get to those temperatures, because that steak temperature is going to continue to rise a little bit after it comes off the grill. So give this a try. Let us know what you think. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/KamadoJoe. Follow us on Twitter @KamadoJoe. And until next time, this is John Setzler with Kamado Joe Cooking Channel.